The floor is yours.
Hi, I promise I've tried to make this brief. I'm so sorry. The Lancaster Palestine Solidarity Encampment started as a small, very anxious group of students in masks waiting for security to drag them away, and turned into 42 days of events, art projects, community meals, public teachings, vigils and protests that built a close, vibrant and thriving community of people, all united by their compassion for Palestinians and their drive to speak out against the history of Palestinian oppression which has been perpetuated by this country and its allies for far too long. It has been a great pleasure to be voices of support for Palestine and voices of opposition to this university's role in the UK arms trade and its associated war crimes. For many of us, it was our first time doing any kind of activism, and it will definitely not be the last. The camp was the product of several things: the growing movement of student encampments around the world, the long history of demilitarization campaigns led by students of this university, and finally, the strong, vocal and proud Palestinian presence in Lancaster town and corresponding solidarity campaign that has held demonstrations every single Saturday since October 7th. The camp was built on the backs of every other protester before us, and it would not have lasted as long as it did without the overwhelming support of others. We cannot thank everyone enough for that. Following the student union's adoption of our demands and our campaign's promise to return next academic year, we hope that university management and the public as a whole now see the depth of this community's commitment to see a free Palestine and understand that there will always be people here willing to fight for it. Thank you.
So I'm incredibly honored to have the privilege of awarding the BRISMES 2023 Award for Services to Middle Eastern Studies to Professor Karma Nabulsi. Karma, I hope, needs no introduction, but she is, for those who don't know her, a well-known scholar of 18th and 19th century political thought, particularly on the laws of war, as well as questions of representation and democracy. But it is, as a committed teacher, an activist, and a champion of several generations of undergraduate students that we wish to honor her here. Throughout her career, Karma has been a bulwark in the defense of student welfare and academic freedom. She was particularly instrumental in highlighting the destructive and damaging aspects of PREVENT, which we are still living through today. Most recently, Karma initiated and directed the Digital Humanities Project, The Palestinian Revolution, which is truly an astounding achievement. Alongside Professor Abdel Razak Takriti and in conjunction with universities in Palestine, Cuba, and South Africa, Karma worked tirelessly to develop an Arabic English teaching resource that will be used by students and scholars for decades to come. In compiling the Palestinian Revolution, Karma has offered educators and students an invaluable resource, one that will, I think, forever change the way the Palestinian struggle is taught, learned, and understood. At a time when scholarship on Palestine skews all too far in favor of the prisms of war, conflict, combat, and hostility, this project forces those who confront it to think otherwise, to consider and contemplate the aspirations and ambitions of a liberatory and emancipatory movement. For this and for the many other contributions across her distinguished career, we would like to honor Karma Nabulsi as this year's recipient of the BRISMES Award for Services. I will now invite two of her students to offer perhaps some brief or not so brief reflections on Karma. Please.
Hi everyone. This is a bit impromptu, but I was told to give 2 minutes of brief remarks, but I warned everyone that if you got me up here to speak about Karma, I would not be down for some time. I met Karma in 2011 in Palestine. I had already come across her work as a young organizer in Palestine, this extraordinary project she worked on called the Civitas Project, which was a popular civic needs assessment of Palestinian communities in more than 30 countries, 150 different meetings, which she helped coordinate and produce an incredible report which can still be found online. And that was a really extraordinary way of bringing Palestinians together at a time when key principles of Palestinian national struggle and history were being contested in quite serious and severe ways. And you know, you've already heard a lot about Karma's extraordinary academic work and her scholarship, but what many of us found as organizers was how she brought so much of what mattered to Palestinian national life into the academy in ways that few others did. At the same time, Karma was very active in supporting us as young activists who were involved in trying to think about how Palestinians would respond to the Arab Spring. 2011, of course, the revolutions were taking place across the Arab world, and we were trying to pull together our ideas about how we could articulate our demands for democracy, freedom, coming together, and of course circumstances that were very different from the struggle of our Arab brethren in other areas of the region. And one of the things that she emphasized to us was that in Egypt they had Tahrir Square, but we as Palestinians did not have anywhere we could gather, given that we were fragmented people, divided by borders across the Middle East and further afield as well. And the key thing that she kept reminding of us that it was not our role as activists to lead or to have our names out there or be spokesperson, but our work was to serve our people and ensure the voice of Palestinians, wherever they are in the world, were included in a democratic way in Palestinian national institutions. And this is where the work around the PLO and rebuilding the PLO on a popular democratic basis took place, a project which is sorely needed now as we see the divisions and fractures of Palestinian political life rendering deep fissures in our body politic. And so I think that the work Karma has done is indispensable for a generation of activists and scholars for thinking about what really matters to Palestine, what really matters to the Arab world, and what really matters in our struggle for freedom and justice. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm incredibly honored and humbled to kind of talk a little bit about Kerma to you all. I get a little emotional about it too. I first met Kerma when immediately after the Iraq War in a hotel lobby in Amman in 2004. It was December, it was cold, and I was very sad. And I remember she came in and she just started talking. She started talking about this moment, what we needed to do, all of the things that were happening, the Second Intifada, the role of Palestinians, and she kept talking about Palestinians. Palestinians, Palestinians, Palestinians. It wasn't Palestine, it was Palestinians. And there's one thing when I finally submitted my PhD much later, I remember thinking if I were to periodize my life, it would certainly be before Kerma and after Kerma. And it was precisely bound up with thinking about Palestinians and to think about the popular sovereignty that binds them to each other, that the sovereignty is declared in the relationship of Palestinians to each other just as much, if not more, than the relationship to a land. And what it meant for us as a people, wherever we are, in the diaspora, in the shatat, in dispersion, in exile, however we define ourselves, what we owe to each other, and how we claim each other, and how we're bound to each other, intellectually, politically, and socially. It was profoundly as this young person who had lived a peripatetic life, who found herself constantly coming back to the question of Palestine and Palestinians in her own work and scholarship, to see somebody who was already bound up with all sorts of commitments, national, political, and social, to this question of Palestinians, and the generosity by which she folded me into that world, I can never repay, and I will spend my life paying forward. She was generous with her time, she was generous with her, ability to explain and help me understand. She was generous in her spirit, in the way that she tried to kind of be patient with my hesitancies, with my own hang-ups around what I understood and what framings I come to and into different spaces. So it's an incredible, I think, Yeah. Cheers, 3 cheers for Karima Nabulsi.
I'm not going to stand on that. I'll get dizzy. Unfortunately, Karima couldn't be here today to accept the award in person because she's unwell, but she was kind enough to write an acceptance speech, which I'll read out. Can you hear me? Friends and colleagues, this is a very harsh year for those of us who live or work on the Middle East, especially Palestine, which lives in the heart of us all. As a consequence, it is incredibly moving to receive recognition in this way. Plus, it provides me with a chance to honor the institution, the committee, and members of BRISMES. It is a chance to highlight the great courage, steadfastness, and strength of purpose of its members. This is not an ordinary group of scholars. First, it is British scholars who bestow this recognition. I have to say it is extremely tough to be British, to work and study in British institutions whilst holding the line this year. It has been remarkable to witness countless examples of solidarity in its many forms, intellectual, moral, and collective. Second, the recognition bestowed here is for service. I would say that service is what I'm attached to above anything. Service to the Palestinian people, to the young generation of students wherever they are, service to my friends and colleagues who continue working so hard to raise awareness, understanding, appreciation, and consideration for Palestine and her people. If I look back at the past decades of work inside and outside of the university, it is with a sense of gratitude for having this chance to serve. There are so many friends here at BRISMES today, former students, colleagues, people that I admire. I would like to dedicate this award to all of you. That's it.
That's it. Thank you so much for coming. We're hoping BRISMES offers everyone a space of collective coming together in what has been a very difficult year for us all, I think. And so one last round of applause for Karima Nabulsi, please.